Welcome everybody to the Lockport Plan and Zone Commission meeting for Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. Could we all please rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Kathy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
You got it. Quinn.
Here.
Calderon.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Likens is absent. Mychek. Mychek is absent. O'Hare.
Here.
Giorgetti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 13th, 2026 Plan and Zone Commission meeting. One thing that I would like to point out before we potentially get a motion is if we could just have Commissioner O'Hare's name added to the top of the sheet. It says Commissioner vacant still on there. That's the only thing that I noticed. Anyone else? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Giorgetti, second by Calderon. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, tonight we do have 3 public hearings, so we will get started with case number 26-008, special use permit for communications monopole located at the Lockport Township High School Athletic Fields, 1298 Garfield Avenue. This is continued from the 5/13/26 meeting and is already open. So I guess we get right into staff's report.
All right, thank you very much. So a quick summary on this case. Our applicant, Derek McGrew, is representing New Singular Wireless PCS, and that is a part of AT&T Mobility. He has submitted a special use permit application for the installation of a 145-foot tall wireless communications monopole with associated antennas and ground equipment in a fenced area located at the Lockport Township High School Athletic Fields, and that is at 1298 Garfield Avenue. A little background on the site. We talked about the petitioner, and we talked about location. The parcel size, this applicant will be renting a parcel size of about 800 square feet, and this will be rented from the high school, District 205. The property is currently zoned R1 with a special use permit for a public school athletic field, and it's currently used for athletic fields. The request tonight is that special use permit for wireless communications monopole. The site is zoned R1 with the athletic fields on there. To the west, we have RO, Heritage Residential, and then surrounding north, east, and south, we have R1 Residential. And just as a brief overview, the Federal Communications Commission's Telecommunications Act of 1996, Section 704, states that state and local governments cannot regulate the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of environmental effects of radio frequency emissions, so long as the facilities comply with the FCC's regulations concerning such emissions. This facility will comply with all FCC standards. In following federal law, the City of Lockport will not evaluate the proposed location of this facility based on the environmental effects of radio frequency emissions. And to get into the standards for special uses, we require these standards to be reviewed for any special use that is proposed in the city. So the first standard is that the proposed building or use at the particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility in the public interest and will contribute to the general welfare of the neighborhood or the community. The proposed monopole would address a documented gap in reliable wireless service in the central Lockport area. Reliable wireless service is essential for public safety, education, emergency response, and daily communication. The second standard states that the proposed building or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, utility facilities, and other matters affecting the public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff finds that the current use of the subject property, athletic fields, will not be changed by the addition of this monopole. The monopole will be set back from residential areas and screened by existing structures and vegetation, and the facility will not generate traffic. The third standard is that the proposed building or use will be designated, arranged, and operated so as to permit the development and the use of neighboring property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. Staff finds that the wireless tower will allow existing and future developments to operate within the applicable district regulations. The monopole will provide essential public infrastructure supporting communication, safety, education, and economic activity. And then I'm just going to scroll through before I have the applicant come up. But just for the commissioners, should the commission find that the special use permit for the proposed 145-foot monopole for the wireless communications acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to adopt the findings of fact and recommend approval to the City Council of the special use permit for a wireless communications monopole located at the Lockport Township High School Athletic Fields, 1298 Garfield Avenue. And now I'm just going to go back and I'm going to invite the applicant to come up and present a little bit more about this.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. All right, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Before I get started, I wanted to make yourselves and the public aware of something that happened over the last few days. Your attorney, Mr. Carroll, is aware of it, and your IT manager. I and my client was a victim of a scam related to this application. I received an email appearing as the Plan Commission chairman. I don't know if Mr. Peters, if you're the chairman or not, but they sent me an invoice and said that if I didn't pay this invoice before yesterday, that we were going to be tabled, and we didn't get it paid for a number of reasons, and I was expecting to be tabled as of 5 o'clock yesterday. I had canceled my travel plans, and so just to make your public aware that that's happening to applicants, I guess Alyssa had mentioned that it's happened before. So that's all. I just wanted to make everyone aware of it. Thank you. I'll try not to repeat a lot of what Alyssa already mentioned. One of the things that was recommended is we talk about, obviously the purpose is fairly obvious, I think, to most people. We're providing coverage in a documented coverage gap. We provided in your package coverage maps before and after to show you that we have an issue now and we're seeking to solve that issue, and that is for voice, text, data, and also for what's called FirstNet communications. And FirstNet is for public safety. It's for your first responders, fire department, police department, school safety officers, and they get primary use of the network over the general public. And they also get from my understanding, they get a better cell phone plan, and that way in an emergency, they don't have to worry about not having coverage. This was generated because of 9/11, because the network got so congested, the emergency calls weren't able to get through. So this is for that network as well. Why did we choose this location? Well, the first answer is obviously the coverage gap. So we, what happens is when AT&T, or I'm a contractor, so I do work for the other providers as well. They give me a location. They say, this is where we need better coverage. Go find us a place to do that. So my job is to go find the existing structures in the area and submit that to my client and say, hey, do these work? Or if these don't work, do we need to build a new tower? And in this case, there wasn't a structure in the area of need to fill that coverage gap, so we determined that we needed a new structure. I'm going to skip to a certain point, and I'll come back. But the The primary reason why this property is so great is really the size of it. It's, as Alyssa mentioned, 800 feet by 800 feet. Your ordinance requires that the tower be its height from any property line, meaning that this 145-foot tower would have to be on a property at least 290 by 290 to meet your setback requirements. There's not a lot of properties that, in a city, for sure, that can meet those requirements. What also is nice about this is, often we are dealing with a private property owner. In this situation, where the rent, the financial revenue is going to the school, so it's that part of it is also going to the public. We do meet all criteria for placement of the tower, which includes we have to find a landowner that's interested in leasing their land. We have to have access, permanent access, 24/7. We have to make sure we're not in a floodplain or wetlands. We have to meet setbacks, which I already mentioned. One other unique characteristic of this property is that there is already tall structures on this property. So while there are maybe other properties that are large, I think there's a couple to the south, this property has these tall light standards that are already there. So in some ways, especially as far as it is from these residential homes, it's being hidden by these other tall structures, trees and tall in the light standards. As mentioned, we do comply with the special use standards. This is providing an essential wireless infrastructure for the public to benefit residents, students, emergency services, and daily communication. We believe that placing this tower where we're proposing gives no adverse impacts to surrounding this property or surrounding properties. The monopole design is the least aesthetically most pleasing of the three typical tower structures. One would be guide, one would be the self-support like a three-legged, looks like an oil well, or the monopole, which just looks like you have photo simulations in your packet which shows you what it looks like, but it basically just looks like a still telephone pole. We believe that it's as compatible as it can be, surrounded by residential properties. Unfortunately, the technology today, we have to be closer and closer and closer to where the user is. The technology, unfortunately, has gotten, in some ways, the way we're discussing here, a little worse. It used to be the Sears Tower covered all of Chicago. And then as technology has evolved and as more and more people got cell phones, we had to get closer and closer and closer to the user. And now 5G technology requires that we're very close to the user. So unfortunately, often I hear, can you put it in the industrial park? But yes, we can, but not if it's not close to residences. So we believe this provides a benefit to the community. This is providing stronger in-building coverage for the surrounding neighborhoods, improved service for the school, facilities, events, and safety, reliable communications during emergencies and peak usage periods, supports remote learning. As we learned during COVID, the students had to work from home and have, use their wireless devices. In closing, the proposed facility is necessary, compatible, minimally impactful, and fully compliant with all local and federal requirements. By the way, it will not have to be lighted because of the height. Pardon me. And the only other thing I wanted to mention offhand, because of something that happened today, I was working in your Starbucks, and I appreciated the tornado warning that I got through my cell phone, that I had good self-service where I was at. And with that, I will be happy to take on any questions you have or respond to the public's concerns. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry? You do have those slides if you press that right button.
Yeah, I'm still confused as where...
Could we please hold questions until the public comment portion, please? The applicant gets their chance, and then the commissioners can ask questions, and then we will have public comments if you signed up to speak, please.
I just want to know, I don't know the format. So I
Well, that, I'm telling you the format. The format, please, if we could have the applicant finish, then the commissioners will ask their questions, and then we will have public comment for anyone that signed up can ask questions. Thank you so much.
This is just the zoning map showing the zoning districts of the surrounding, of the subject property and the surrounding area. This is the before of the photo simulation from one of the two entrances. And there's the after of what it will look like. There's the before from the other entrance. And now the after from the other, from after it's constructed.
It's hard to see it because they don't have a pointer. Can someone point it out?
It's not public comment.
Oh.
Chair's holding.
There we go.
So before, after,
See it in the middle there?
before, after.
Can't ask questions.
All right, commissioners, any comments for the applicant?
I do, if I may. You have within the application under review standards for special use permit, I think it's like page 7, they're not numbered, but it's bullet point 2, paragraph number 3, the facility will not generate smoke, odor, vibration, or perceptible noise beyond code compliant equipment. But you do have a diesel emergency backup generator on site. So while that is in operation, you will in fact have diesel exhaust coming out of that generator?
Yeah, it's minimal, but yes, true.
Okay. Because it's on school property, you know, a fuel tank for a diesel generators, that is jurisdiction that falls under the Illinois State Fire Marshal. I don't see within your code notations on the drawings that you've referenced to make sure that that generator falls within the Illinois State Fire Marshal's codes. You know, it's considered a non-dispensing bulk fuel storage tank. And because you're on school grounds, there's also additional applications that have to go through the Illinois State Board of Education, Regional Education Group for health and standards and codes compliant. Now, I saw that there was a letter from the school board, or is it school council, school board, forgive me, that, you know, was in full recommendation, but I didn't see any reference to the permits that are required from the ISBE's department. Have you guys submitted to the Illinois State Board of Education?
We don't do that until after, we consider that the engineering permitting process, which is done after the zoning approval. So, I mean, yes, I haven't.
Well, I can understand that from the city standpoint, but, I mean, the school is already giving us their approval, yet the Illinois State School Board hasn't. So I guess my point is would I still want to look at this and approve the special use if I don't even know that the school board of Illinois really would approve it? So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Okay.
So we'll table that. The other question I had too was,
Can I comment on the generator a little bit?
yes.
So the generator will only be in use, I believe that it runs like once a month for testing purposes, but other than that, it's not going to run unless the power's out.
Like today.
I'm sorry,
Like today.
was it out?
Like my neighborhood's out of power right now, yeah.
Oh, yeah, ours went out, Starbucks went out for like 4 seconds.
Everywhere I see 145 feet, but if I go to the elevation drawing, and if maybe you could flip to it, it shows the tower top to 150 feet, and then it shows the elevation of the top of the lightning arrestor to like 154 feet. Which is it?
It's all of the above, I believe.
So why is it listed as 145 feet when it's 154 feet? So you can flip your drawing up on the screen there if you want.
I don't think that drawing has the tower
Oh,
elevation on it.
Alyssa, do they not have all the drawings on there or no? Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking at the elevation drawing.
Yeah, so the 154 is just the lightning rod, so
But the tower top is 150. So looking at the tower elevation and antenna layout, Exhibit 1 shows a monopole elevation 150.
I mean, I can look into that and we can correct it, rather than sitting here waiting for me to look into it. But, you know, just an oversight on the, you know, it is, the site plan is what we would go by.
And then, I guess finally, it looks like the fiber optic pedestal and the utility transformer falls outside of your fenced area. You know, you're concreting that over, and you know that area is going to become a path of egress because you're right behind the bleachers. So everybody's going to be walking from the parking lot to the bleachers. Are you not concerned about kids playing on that, damage from a guy cutting the grass, you know?
No, I mean, those exist all over the place. No, we're not concerned about that.
I don't have anything else right now.
I agree with you that it appears to be a typo, that the tower is 150 with a 4-foot lightning rod. We go through a lot of changes throughout this process. We've been working on this since 2023, so they may have made a change and I just didn't catch it.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else to.
So with respect to the school board, yeah, I'll certainly look into that, and we would agree to that as a condition of approval, that we get those, you know, we obviously always get, I've done the fire marshal permits many, many times. I'm not familiar with the other one, though, but I've made a note so I can take care of that.
I have one quick question. I know that the Telecommunications Act of, you know, that Alyssa mentioned, talks about, you know, governments cannot regulate the placement, but then it says modifications later on. Is the current height 145 or 150, whatever it ends up being, is that what it'll stay forever, or have you, you know, I guess maybe this is a question for you, Lance, could it ever be increased without coming back to this board?
Oh, I'm sure it cannot.
Yeah, whatever is approved or recommended for denial from the Plan and Zoning Commission, if it ultimately is approved and ultimately is constructed, the specific number that's identified in the motion would be the number that it needs to remain. And if it was ever going to be enlarged, it would need to come back through the process.
Any other commissioners wish to have any questions? All right, then we will go to the public, and I have the list of cards here, and I'll just go in order. We have a Kim DeGilio, if you want to come and speak.
Before we get started on public comment, do we have a time limit for each speaker?
Per the cards here, we'll just follow that. I would say, if you have the same point that someone already made, if you want to come up and just say, hey, I agree with Kim, that's all. We don't need to hear the same argument, you know, over and over. I would also just refer you back also, if we're going to be talking emissions and all of that sort of thing, to please realize that the FCC has laws that we cannot take that into account when we're making our decisions. So that side of things is really out of our hands. So if there are any questions that are from the public, so we'll start. Kim, Kathy, do we need her to swear in or anything like along those lines? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim. I have huge concerns. I am literally the closest house to where they want to put this thing. It's literally right outside of my bedroom window. I think that if it fell, it would touch my house. That's how close I am. I have health concerns, which I know you guys are saying you can't really speak to, but I do have health concerns. I have lived in this community for 8 years now. I would not have bought this home if it had a cell tower behind it. I have three children. I have pets. I have many things that make me concerned about the health effects of living so close to something that is emitting radiation. I also have concerns about the park itself. The athletic field is not secure in any way. We have contacted the high school numerous times to close the walkway between my fence and my neighbor's fence. It's been going on for 8 years. It is still not secure. People still cut through our yards. And I think it's a shame that only the people who live within 250 feet of this proposed site were the ones that had to be notified, because literally everyone who has a high school age kid in Lockport uses this field. Our kids are being exposed to the radiation. We do have the risk of lightning strikes. This is a 154-foot tall tower now. That's going to attract lightning. Let's put it in the middle of our ball fields where children play. That doesn't sound smart to me. I have concerns about it decreasing my property value. Are there studies that speak to that? Because again, I wouldn't have bought this house if I knew there was going to be a 154-foot radiation emitting tower behind it. So who do I talk to about who is responsible for the loss in my property value? And when and if my family starts experiencing health concerns, who do I speak to about that?
All right. No, thank you. We very much appreciate your comments. Do we want the applicant to respond to each individual or wait till the end? Okay, thank you. So, yeah, then we'll go to the next one. I have Michelle Angielski.
So, when I was here at the last meeting, I know I didn't speak very well or eloquently. I'm not really thrilled about speaking in public. I am kind of glad that it got postponed because it gave me a little more time to do a little bit more research on what's happening here. And I do realize now that we can't do anything about the health things, which, as she said, is a major concern. But when I was here, I guess it was a good thing because I listened to how you were developing and deciding about other properties and other special use permits. The first one was a concern about the aesthetics when people entered the city limits in regards to a tire place on 9th Street. You were concerned about how it would look for the people who are coming into our town as well as the people who live behind it. The second one was an issue in regards to a nonprofit donation thrift store and how those donations were going to be handled and whether or not those were going to be on the street, and making sure that they had something properly in place to take care of that. So those were all things that were very nice for me to hear, that you actually care about the aesthetics of our town. And the third was a safety issue over a liquor license, and the fact that there were lack of rules that were being upheld at that place, and that now there was a new owner who was going to take care of those things, and that's why you proceeded. So that was all positive things for me. I will omit all the stuff about the health stuff because I know you can't do anything about that, but that is, our regulations are based on something that's from 1996, which are pretty outdated, and as my husband points out, if you were going to have somebody do IT that only knows 95, Windows 95, you're not going to want them to do that. So I do know, though, that the FCC was taken to court to update the regulations, so maybe that will change. And I do know that other states have went beyond that and made their own regulations to make sure their citizens stay safe. So if you'd like to do some research on that, I can get you that information, but that was New Hampshire, Virginia, and California both do that. So the cities actually have better and stronger limits than what the FCC requires. So
Okay, thank you.
back on to the aesthetics. I doubt any one of you would want a cell tower in your front yard or your backyard, and that's what you're asking me to do. Not only will it distract from your view, but it does affect the trees in there. I know you said you can't do anything about that either, but the cell towers have been known to actually cause trees to die. That park just went through a huge renovation not too long ago. We suffered through that with all the construction and things like that, and it's beautiful now. And those trees that are going to be next to them are probably going to be dead in a few years because of that tower. And that's a concern. And then we have, if we're going to see that it's zoned R1. So my understanding is from the research that I did that there is a low height profile, so typically 35 feet, that is allowed in R1. So that is a concern to me, that you're going to have this thing that's going to be towering. That's my view out of my front yard, is this huge tower. I deal with the baseball fields, I deal with the traffic, I deal with all that stuff. I don't want to have to look out my front door and see this huge monstrosity of a tower that's going to affect all kinds of things. For a special use, to preserve the skyline and the residential character, that is no longer happening here. And those are things that I believe you have to take into consideration. There are height limit setbacks. You have to concern yourself with whether or not that this is going to fall onto the kids who are playing if something happens, if we have a tornado. I've seen many times when those people are in the field, it's pouring, they go to their dugouts. If that happens and a tornado comes through or something happens, those kids are going to be injured. So it's a safety issue. Whether or not you want to realize it, it may hit your house, which I'm sorry, mine's not close enough to do that, but it could definitely impact children who are playing there. So I guess that's outside of the health. That's my
Thank you very much. The next one is Paul Angelski. Anything additional? No, I just agree with Kim and my wife. Okay, thank you very much. The next one is Brent Porfilio.
I think the 1996 FCC regulations are way out of date. They're not even applicable to 5G. I think they had 1G at the time, so that's a horrible thing to base this on. Cell towers drop property values by more than 20%, by the way. So all the equity in the homes around here are destroyed by this. Children absorb higher rates of cell tower radiation and are biologically more vulnerable to RF radiation emitted by cell towers, a fact that has long been acknowledged by medical authorities. Scientific studies, expert recommendations, and international policies increasingly support stronger protections and greater setbacks for cell towers from schools and homes. Yet in the U.S., federal safety rules have not been updated in 30 years, which is pathetic. Cell towers emit radio frequency radiation, that's RF. I'm going to not say that 100 times again, I'll just say RF. It's a non-ionizing electromagnetic radiation. Studies have reported a range of harmful health effects after prolonged exposure. It's been associated with increased oxidative stress and DNA damage. Many countries other than the U.S. conduct regular audits of cell towers, which we are not doing, especially around schools and homes. The U.S. lacks any federal law or compliance policy requiring routine testing or monitoring of cell tower sites to ensure safety and levels of radiation. The American Academy of Pediatrics has repeatedly urged the U.S. government to update its awful 1996 radiation limits, as children are more vulnerable to RF radiation due to their thinner skulls, developing organ systems, and greater absorption rates. The Organization of Children Doctors, along with many others, advises parents to reduce children's exposure. A growing body of peer-reviewed research documents provide a range of biological and health effects linking RF to cancer risk, cellular stress, genetic damage, hormonal changes, and neurological effects. Just to give you some examples, I got a million of them. I'm just going to try to do a quick scan of them. Dr. Henry Lay compiled over 2,000 studies. 90% of them showed harmful effects from radiation in children and adults closer than 1,500 feet to the tower. That's very important. 2,000 studies. Since 1996, since they have not updated their laws. Let's see what else here. There's other, they did a comparison of the United States for radiation levels from these towers versus other countries. I'll give you an example. Chile, this is on a scale of 10. U.S. is a 10. Chile is 0.058. This is comparing megahertz, okay, that are allowed. Switzerland, 0.095. Bulgaria, 0.1. Russia, 0.1. China, 0.4. Italy, 0.6. Slovenia, 0.9. U.S. is at 10.0. That's the relationship and how, yes. So there's a ton of information out here on reasons why the 1996 FCC that they're following this should be tabled until that's updated, just like the data centers. I have a few examples I'm going to run off real quick.
We have about 1 more minute, Mr. Porfilio, thank you.
Done? Okay.
1 more minute, you can go, yeah.
Okay, Tennessee, 1,500 feet from schools. Copac, New York, 1,500 feet from schools. Walnut Creek, California, 1,500 feet from schools and homes. San Diego County, 700 feet from schools and homes. Bedford, New Hampshire, 750 feet from homes and schools. Shelburne, Massachusetts, 3,000 feet from schools and homes. These are examples of other states that get it and do not follow that ridiculous 1996 rule. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, next is Miss Joan O'Keefe.
Hello, thank you for having us and listening. I live at the corner of Grandview and 11th. I have a cedar house that I improved with my ex-husband. I pay $9,000 in taxes, and I'm about, just one street over from Cleveland. Yesterday, I walked to all my neighbors whose backyards are on Cleveland and 11th, and it's a very small property. For a cell tower to be put there, this is not the reason those people cherish their properties. They cherish it for green space, and many of them are brokenhearted. I talked to about 15 people out of the 37, 40 homes I visited with the flyer about tonight's meeting. The property that you're looking at is meant to be for gym classes, for baseball games. When I was in high school at LTHS, which I've always supported with referendums and my love and my heart and my soul, it was a football field. LTHS owns East Campus, which is 140 acres, compared to this little field with homes that are less valuable, and I believe they're being looked at as less valuable by this situation. LTHS also owns 100 acres in Homer Glen that they've put a solar farm on, and I'm going it from their perspective of getting the rent. This gentleman said that the reason for this is continued cell coverage, and I think that's BS. I get perfect cell coverage, my friends get perfect cell coverage. It's much bigger than that. It's for the needs of the community, yes, but I have heard there's a camera system going in all over town. The cloud is storing all our information. And from my research, cell phone providers are now going from service to surveillance. And what that means is, you guys know, they're selling our data. That's the profit. That's where their money comes from. My provider, Google, is the worst. AT&T is named as they lost all their home phones, so they have to make up their profits some way. They're selling our information. And I think we're being sold a bill of goods. People think playing on their phone is fun, including me going on Facebook and whatnot. The bigger picture is horrible. AI is going to take away the jobs. We may have this data center come in, data centers going all over the country, causing pollution. So this, I don't believe that the people in my neighborhood are missing coverage. I think that's a red herring, if I have that saying correct. So I think what I'd like to know from the city of Lockport is your ultimate plan. I live on 11th and Grandview. I can walk 5 minutes to the fire station. There's a huge cell tower right there. 1 mile to the east is one at the police station, and now you want to put one right behind me at the athletic field. I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but I bought that house there with the creek behind me because of green space. And I think these people bought their property because they have that little piece of green space. And the last thing I want to know is I went on Cell Tower Tracker, and I just wanted to know how many accidents were caused by cell towers falling over, getting hit by lightning. So I didn't, the chart was very detailed and small. I don't have a home computer. I don't have internet service. I don't have cable TV, but I do have my cell phone. So I'm looking at Tower Tracker, and quickly I was able to find, and this is an important question, liability. If something does happen to that cell tower or the property, who is liable for it? I can name two things in particular. In 2024, in Bosley Butte, Oregon, there was a lightning strike on the community cell tower, one community cell tower. The repairs are $97,000. Who pays that? Because they're in court. See, they can take it to court for their fighting over money. So who's liable for that? Lockport High School, me, the taxpayer, or the cell provider? There's one more I just want to name. In 2025, Van Zant, Texas, popped up right away, and it was put on private property, and there's a legal dispute between the property owner and the cell company. Who is going to repair it?
Okay, thank you. Denise Julian Hernandez?
Good evening. My name is Denise Julian Hernandez, and I live on 12th Street, approximately 425 feet from the proposed cell tower location. I want to start, thank you, I'm a shorty. I want to start by acknowledging the importance of reliable cell service. In fact, I work from home full-time and rely on technology and cell service every day to do my job. I'm also an AT&T customer. So this isn't about being against technology or opposing cell towers in general. My concern is more so about the location. The proposed location is more than an open piece of property. It's near a neighborhood park that is actively used. As someone who lives just down the street, I see firsthand how much this space is used. During the school year, I regularly watch 5 or 6 freshman gym classes from Lockport High School walk past my house on their way to use the fields there. This is not an unused space. It's a place where our children play, compete, and spend time outdoors. So my question is simple. Why here? I understand the need for the improved service, but that does not automatically mean that this is the best location. What other sites may have been considered? Why was a neighborhood park chosen instead of a location farther away from homes and recreational space? The proposed location is an important community asset. Once a tower is built, the character of this space changes permanently. So I'm here to respectfully ask that we carefully consider whether this is truly the most appropriate location and whether there might be some alternatives. And I also find it interesting that we are citing something that is 30 years old. Current FCC radio frequency exposure limits, unchanged since 1996, are based solely on protecting against short-term overheating effects and simply were not designed to protect against effects of long-term, low-level, full-body exposure from cell phone towers. I have a 12-year-old. We're 425 feet away from here. Many people here are closer, but I am not in favor of this. I appreciate all of the questions that you asked, that you came prepared tonight to challenge. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, and our last speaker from the public would be Jacqueline Mathis.
In listening to you all, the fact that the information that you have goes back to 96, that is like red flag number one. The fact that this is a place where children are constantly around, number two. And I must say that I am so thrilled with the fact that you have this open hearing and that you are listening to basically people pleading to you to please protect their children, their home. And it's up to you now. And I cannot conceive of any reason why you would permit this to happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mathis. Thank you to everyone from the public for coming to voice your questions. And if the applicant would, if they were taking any notes, if you'd like to kind of respond to any of those.
Yes, thank you. I took quite a few notes. Thank you. Might be a little all over the place with my answers, but so the First Lady had mentioned that she was the closest home to the proposed tower and that it could fall on her property or on her house. And I did a quick calculation that this tower is no closer than 260 feet from any property line. That's the closest one. The rest of them are further. With respect to the tower itself, the monopoles are designed, as all cell towers are designed these days, to collapse upon themselves. They don't fall straight over. They're designed to kind of collapse almost like if you squeezed a pop can. Where it's going to fail, it's just going to kind of collapse upon itself, and it'll fail in the upper half of the tower. It's not going. Towers don't fall straight over. They just don't do that. So far as the students are concerned, just making everyone aware, there's already a tower across the street from the high school, just east of the high school. I don't know how far that is exactly, but this really isn't affecting the students other than the people playing on the fields. So far as lightning protection goes, we do install lightning protection on the tower. This in no way is attracting lightning to the area at all. Property values, we have, I understand with internet research, you'll see that real estate agents' opinion is that cell towers affect negatively property values. However, and they say 20%. We've done numerous studies in multiple states confirming the actual effect of cell towers before and after they were built, to confirm and verify that there is no negative effect of property values whatsoever. And if it's necessary, I'm happy to provide. I'm actually working on one of those studies right now in Indiana, in Northwest Indiana, to have that done for another site. Happy to provide that when I have it. The aesthetics, I understand that is a personal preference, and I actually myself used to live in Valparaiso, across the street from 5 of these things. It just didn't bother me, and I understand it bothers some people. I don't want to put it where it bothers people, but unfortunately, we have, as I mentioned before, we have to get our towers closer and closer to people. And in the search ring that we have in order to fill this coverage gap, there was no other property that met all the characteristics that we have to meet to build the tower. And in your zoning ordinance, each and every district, except for one, I think it's like B2 commercial or something like that, tower is required, special use is required. So we didn't pick and choose, we didn't, but what we did do is we were able to, again, I mentioned before, give the revenue to the community. So we feel like it's a great location for that reason. With respect to trees, I've never heard that one before, but that kind of falls under the environmental effects regarding the FCC, which I'll repeat here at the end. Sorry.
Maybe we please let the applicant speak. It's one at a time.
We won't be installing a camera system on the tower that I'm aware of, and if it is only for our own security to keep people from vandalizing our equipment. It won't be, it certainly won't be looking out onto other properties. It may be just to make sure our stuff is safe. So far as the surveillance, I really don't know how to comment on that. That's kind of a broad concern. We have I've never heard that one either. We're not planning on performing any surveillance with this particular tower or any tower that I'm aware of. Insurance, that's covered between the school district and AT&T Wireless. if there's an issue with the tower, AT&T Wireless is responsible for any issue, whatever that might be. Is the location necessary? Yes, I believe it is, and I believe we've provided documentation showing that it is and that we've selected a really good location. I hope you agree. We were actually, I expected a full room tonight. We had to send out 122 notices, and because of the continuance, I sent it twice. So there was really 244 notices sent out. I knew there were going to be people upset about it. Like I said, we don't like to put them where it upsets people, but unfortunately, to provide the service that's necessary, we sometimes have to be near residential districts. And in closing, in today's day and age, 98% of people of adults, have cell phones. And so, the people with concern to health effects, that doesn't reflect on that stat. 98% of people feel like it's safe to have a cell phone. And for, a cell tower to be 150 feet in the air, I guess I would be, if I had concerns about health, it would be my phone, not a tower that's 150 feet in the air. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you, yes.
Before you close the public hearing and start deliberations, I wonder if I could address you and the commission with some items I'd like to make you aware of.
Absolutely.
Okay. So a couple of the speakers talked about, or one speaker in particular talked about states that are not following the Telecommunications Act of 1996. I think we can all agree that the fact that a statute is controlling on an industry that's 30 years old may be problematic. I don't know. Perhaps Congress has decided that the standards that they entered in 1996, and by the way, that act itself doesn't set the standards for it. There are guidelines called OET bulletins that are put out by the FCC that actually have the requirements on RF communications and transmissions. We can agree that a 30-year-old statute may or may not be sufficient, but the fact is it is a law. There's not a state in the United States that fails to follow that. You have to follow it. We have no choice. We can't disregard it. It's federal law. I will read some sections from the Telecommunications Act of 1996 I want you all to be aware of, because as city attorney, it's my job to prevent you from being in litigation. First of all, regardless of what you decide, this subsection 3 of paragraph B of that act, section 704, says any decision by a state or local government or instrumentality thereof to deny a request to place, construct, or modify personal wireless service facilities shall be in writing and supported by substantial evidence contained in a written record. The part that we're talking about tonight, I think everyone understands that there's concerns, fear, et cetera, about RF transmissions, but this is the section that Mr. McGrew was talking about and that Ms. JG talked about in her presentation, and that's subsection 4. No state or local government or instrumentality thereof may regulate the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of the environmental effects of radio frequency emissions to the extent that such facilities comply with the Commission's regulations concerning such emissions. Then it says any person adversely affected by any final action or failure to act by a state or local government or any instrumentality thereof that is inconsistent with this subparagraph within 30 days after such action or failure to act commence an action in any court of competent jurisdiction. The court shall hear and decide such action on an expedited basis. Any person adversely affected by an act or failure to act by a state or local government or instrumentality thereof that is inconsistent with Clause 4, that's the RF clause, may petition the Commission for relief. So if there was a decision based on RF exposure, that wouldn't even go to the City Council or the local courts in Joliet, that would go to the FCC in Washington. The RF, there is a provision of that same statute from 1996 that required the FCC within 180 days of passage to complete these ETs that we were talking about, the bulletins that set forth the decisions. Now, Mr. McGrew and I had several conversations preparing for this hearing, and I explained to him that while this commission has no jurisdiction to discuss, to rule, et cetera, on RF, that it might be good if he were to provide something for me to review to show that it's their intent to, and their acknowledgement that they have to comply with all those requirements. So if the commission wants, I have copies for each of the commissioners. He did provide to me an affidavit signed by an Eric Nelson, who is the lead for real estate and construction for AT&T Mobility, and that affidavit basically acknowledges AT&T's responsibility under the FCC Act to keep their radio frequency transmissions within all the applicable guidelines, both in terms of general population uncontrolled exposure and occupational controlled exposure as defined by those FCC regulations. And they agree to reevaluate that compliance anytime there might be a change in equipment, antenna configuration, or transmission power. And they'll take all mitigation measures to make sure that they're in compliance with those. And I'll point out, Commissioner Giorgetti asked about what if there's a change later on. We all saw recently that the Springs had to come before you for a change in special use just on the size of a sign, let alone something like as significant as the height of this antenna. So if the 6 of you wish, or 5 of you wish, I could give you a copy of the affidavit if you want to look at it yourselves, and you can make it part of the record if you wish. You want?
Sure, yes, please.
Take a look at it. Yeah.
Thank you, I forgot to mention that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Tice, have you worked in another jurisdiction before? Your name seems really familiar.
What's the date on that?
June 1st.
For this year?
Yes. Yeah, Mr. McGrew and I spoke with last week, and he put this together and emailed it to me.
All right, excellent, thank you. Commissioners, any further questions for the applicant before we potentially close the public hearing?
Yeah, I have one. In your responses, you had noted that existing AT&T sites in the region are unable to provide adequate in-building coverage or capacity due to distance, terrain, and increased user demand. What about Verizon or any other U.S. cellular, any other carrier? Is this just a concern for AT&T, or is this considered a public concern that we don't have that tower sitting in the middle of the field?
So,
because just to expand,
yes, sir.
the more I read that statement, it tells me that you're missing out on revenue as an organization because you're unable to provide, in-building services or adequate services or coverage to a particular area. Mm-hmm. And then you also note reliable wireless service is essential for public safety, education, emergency response. Does our EMS use AT&T for their public service? Do we know?
I don't know what fire, because it's a separate taxing body.
Okay.
On our city plan, we do have Verizon. I'm not sure if that is what Westcom uses, though, or what our officers use in responding to that. I don't know if you know.
Their communications will be typically digital radio, but some of those towers that were mentioned were actual radio towers, not necessarily cell towers. Right.
Okay, thank you.
So we are, to answer that one, and I'll come back to the other one, we're federally mandated to provide that FirstNet coverage for all of those safety entities. And so whether or not one or two use them, one or two may not use them, but there are others that probably do. With respect to Verizon and U.S. Cellular, U.S. Cellular doesn't exist anymore. They were bought by T-Mobile, but so there's now just T-Mobile and Verizon, and I really can't speak to their networks, but what I'll say is that, the different wireless providers develop their networks at different speeds, and their signal also propagates differently, so like a radio wave. So it unfortunately sometimes, I would predict that eventually T-Mobile and Verizon will need this here. But at this time,
will what? I didn't hear that.
I anticipate at some point in time, if this tower were constructed, that Verizon and U.S. Cellular, due to just the number of residential units in the area, the number of people that are using cell phones there, I anticipate that probably Verizon and T-Mobile will need it. I can't speak to that for them, though.
Thank you.
All right, the last thing I have before is just, first of all, you started out, and we didn't address this, that you received this scam saying the chairman needed payment or whatever, so apologize for that. It didn't come from anyone at the city, and I am the temporary chairman for today, but not the permanent. So sorry that happened to you, and hopefully that doesn't happen to any future applicants. But yeah, commissioners, do we have any more questions or a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll motion, close.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion by O'Hare, second by Giorgetti. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, do we have any internal discussion that we want to do? Alyssa, would you mind putting up the findings of fact, just to kind of jog our memory from the beginning of the meeting? And if anyone wants to challenge these or, not agree with them, to go on the record in anticipation of any sort of motion, I would welcome that from any of the commissioners.
Do you want me to read the findings of fact again?
I think
or-
if you just have them on the screen and
Okay.
maybe scroll them every 30 seconds or so, just so we can have them up. I think that's fine. And we do have them in our packets as well, so just refer to those. They are on, starting on page 3 and finishing at the top of page 4. So commissioners, just refer to those, and if we have any other discussion,
I wouldn't need to restate what I had previously stated, would I? Okay, thank you.
yeah, I mean, I think that, in my opinion, the number 2 on the standards for special use, proposed building or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, so the traffic conditions agree, utility facilities agree, public health, safety, and welfare, again, limited a little bit there, but character of the neighborhood is probably the one that I don't think that I necessarily would agree with. 145 to 154 feet. The light stanchions, I believe, for the baseball lights are about 60 feet, so now you're 2.5 times higher there. I think that, I don't know, I could make an argument there that I wouldn't agree with that response, but, so I don't know how we kind of format that, Mike, if that is something, and do we all have to agree on that, or can that just be the opinion of one commissioner, or how would we go about that?
So that's what the whole deliberation process is. So
Yeah.
we'd have to find each of these findings of fact. You can tweak them, but if you were to find that it violated number 2, for example, then it would be a denial. But again, I would caution you, you already commented on it, Mr. Chairman, that it can't be based on the RF issue. You can tweak the verbiage to, if you feel that it generally meets number 2, but you don't disagree with staff's proposed verbiage, you can certainly tweak that. But if you were to find against number 2, then that would be a denial.
And Mike, in the case of a denial, where do we go next week from there?
Well, as I mentioned, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 gets into that, and this is one of those areas because there is preemption at the federal level, it could be preemption at the state level as well, but because there is a statute, whether it's state or federal, that preempts us on an issue, I just would caution you, as I oftentimes do, this is one of those kind of cases where these types of denials typically end in litigation. So if you're going to say, for example, if you remember the joint meeting we did with the city council, we can't rule on, I feel, it's got to be based on factual evidence, and you have to put that into the record, because if you don't, you're going to lose it if we go to court. So that, just have that deliberative process, and if you feel that the applicant fails on number 2, make a very clear record, and I'd be happy to help you draft a written order if you wish, if that were your decision. But those are the types of cases that typically would end us in litigation, just FYI.
And then if we didn't make that and someone just made a motion and we had a vote, then the vote goes through, and whatever the result of the vote is on the record, and then it would just go, to...
Well, except that, as the federal statute mentions, it says that any denial shall be in writing and supported by substantial evidence contained in a written record. So that's why I said, if you're going to deny, the best practice would be for me to help the commission. And we did this on another issue not that long ago, where Chairman Likens came to my office. We had circulated an email to all of you, if you recall. I think it was a special use on a fence, maybe. And we were very careful in how we drafted the order, because similarly, anytime you deny it, you're running the risk of litigation. But when there's a federal preemption, that risk is heightened. So if there were going to be a denial, I would recommend that we tell the applicant that there was going to be a denial, and there'll be a written ruling issued within, say, 10 days. I would circulate a draft based on what I hear you say, and you would not reply all, because we don't want to violate the Open Meetings Act, but you would reply to me, I have a problem with this, and we would work towards a final order, but it better be substantially, supported by evidence and a written ruling if you're going to do that.
The one, going to point two that Aaron brought up, we've heard, I think our applicants say that their studies show that property values are not impacted. We hear another study that says that it's dropped 20% by, some realtors. Is there any federal study or anything that we can lean on that would show or prove the FCC has done their investigation on this as well from a property value standpoint?
What I'm hearing, and I haven't done any research myself, I'm hearing there's a group of realtors, whether it's the NAR or whoever it is, that claims there's an adverse effect. The applicant's telling you he has seen and done studies denying that. So one of the things that the commission could do, if that's where you're hung up on number two, you're okay, you can't talk about the RF. If you're hung up on number two because of the impact it may have on property values, you may ask Mr. McGrew to come back with those studies, whether he's done them in other states, and he's working on one he mentioned in Northwest Indiana now. If that's going to sway you, I'm sure that he would rather have a delayed yes, if that were the issue that was swaying you, versus a no and end up in litigation. So that's something that's certainly within your purview to ask him to come back with that, and you could ask him, even if you want, whether he would agree to do that if you asked.
We would agree to that completely, and Mr. Peters, I can also go back to my client due to your concerns about the height and see if we can reduce the height any. It wouldn't be like in half or anything like that, but, it might be 10, 20 feet, maybe 30, I don't know. It's not up to, I couldn't make that decision here tonight. But I could go back to my client and come back to the next meeting and see if they can reduce the height any. Now, I'm just going to say that changes the coverage maps.
Right.
The shorter it is. And I'm trying to sell you on this a little bit, because this tower is where it is. I really do believe, I've been doing this a long time, that Verizon and T-Mobile will need this tower. And the shorter you build the tower, the less co-location ability it has. So if you reduce the height too much, now you don't have the ability. Then Verizon and T-Mobile are going to come to you and try to put a tower next door or on the same property or something like that because the tower's too short. So I want you to just keep that in mind, but I can go back to my client and see if we can reduce it any.
Sure, thank you.
What kind of retort would you have against a report coming from the proposer versus the antithesis to that report?
Well, you could certainly ask staff, and I would, Mr. Teese and Ms. JG and I can help with that as well. If you asked us to locate, and I'm sure they're available online, so a lot of the people that spoke to
When
us.
you ask Google for something, Google's going to give you what Google is asking you for, so.
In other words, so if the NAR, National Association of Realtors, for example, did a study, and Mr. McGrew had a study, we would provide what we could find, he would provide what he's had and what he's done, and you would just review those like you would anything else. There's always going to be a point-counterpoint, and that's the tough job that you're appointed to kind of decide through those things. But if that is what's hanging you up on factor number two, like I mentioned, I'm sure the applicant would rather have a well-analyzed response as opposed to a knee-jerk reaction.
Our report will come from a licensed appraiser. It's not just, me, I'm not doing it.
All right, so I guess kind of in light of that, is anybody, do we have any motion to approve, motion to take a vote? Do we have any changing language that we want to incorporate here as a body, I guess would be, where we are.
And if you have any other concerns that we can address before the next meeting, if you so choose to table.
Yeah.
Right, you could continue it to the next meeting as well.
Based on that study, if we wanted to get that study, we can.
If you need additional information in order to evaluate the proposal, you could continue it to the next meeting, and we will work with the applicant to get the information that they have, as well as do whatever research we will as staff.
Like, when you talk about character of the neighborhood, this would be kind of the backup to the character of the neighborhood, because you think of what that statement means. There's, how do you make a subjective statement with facts? I guess is the question.
Sure. Yeah, and that kind of flies in the face of what I've said previously about not basing it on feeling, but that's why the applicant gave you those artistic renderings with, the one side, there's light poles already, and it only sticks up a little bit above them based on the angle you're looking at it, versus the other side where it seems to be a little higher. There's going to, of course, be some subjective view of the evidence on that topic. So that's when you kind of balance number one and number two to decide which gravitates more for you. Is it the improved coverage area that benefits the community? Is that more important than having a little bit higher light on the one side than the other? That's something that, there is a little bit of feel to it. But what I was cautioning about with feel is, well, I believe because NAR says it's going to reduce property values. Well, that's not based on fact. It's based on one opinion. And just like Mr. McGrew talked about, I've got a case I'm bringing before the city council in the next meeting or two where I had to do an appraisal in order to sell a piece of property that the city owns, and it's got to be a licensed appraiser. So it sounds like his report, if he were to provide one to this commission, would be a licensed appraiser's report.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just as a suggestion, it sounds like there are two items that, are pieces of information that could be provided, and just trying to summarize this for you all. It would be the property value reports and studies, and it would also be a consideration for whether or not their client is willing to reduce the height of the pole. Those seem to be the two things that would be outstanding items for the commission if you so chose to want that information in order to make a decision or a modification to the findings of fact.
In case you're not aware of the terminology, when Mr. McGrew talked about co-location, that would be more than one carrier being on one tower. So he's talking about if it went shorter, potentially they couldn't add other carriers on there, and they'd want their own towers at some point in the future, potentially. Just FYI.
I think we need more information.
Yeah.
All right, then, if someone wants to, do we make a motion to continue and then vote on that?
Do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, if anybody wants to make a motion, go for it. One way or the other, continuance, vote, either way.
I would include the information that you were seeking within that motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to continue case number 26-008 pertaining to the wireless communications monopole located at the Lockport Township High School athletics field, pending additional information and research pertaining to its impacts on property value, as well as considerations by the applicant's client regarding the decrease of the monopole's height.
To the next meeting?
To the next meeting, yes.
Yep.
Okay. When is it? July. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Giorgetti.
I'm sorry.
So we have a motion by Quinn, a second
July 8th.
Hey, may I,
by Giorgetti.
if I have a conflict that day, and I think I do, would be able to table it, and I just kind of want to get caught, I believe I already have a meeting that day. Would it be okay to table to August? Can I get your nod, wink, wink, we can go to August if I can't be here?
Yeah, I think, you can work through Lance and,
Okay.
We would do a date specific with the motion.
Would you prefer to make it August now? He could amend his motion.
For August, just simply now.
I don't have my calendar.
It is. Yeah, I had him add it at the end. Yeah. I apologize. He said to the next meeting, which is July 8th.
Of course, yes. Yes, for sure. Okay, there we go. Apologize for the delay. I don't know if you guys agree, but the iPhone calendar is worthless. I just don't even use it. Come on, baby, let's go.
Is it possible to leave it open-ended to just? No.
Well, you could table it, but then you have to bring it off the table, and it takes 2 steps as opposed to, if we know the date now, it's better off to do it now.
Okay.
Okay, we're there.
and the August date, I believe, would be the
12th.
12th. Yep.
Well, we could table it, and he can advise you which date he prefers, and then you can just make sure a motion to pull it from the table is on that date.
I think I'm okay.
So July 8th is okay?
I'm okay on the 8th.
Okay, so we have a motion by Quinn, a second by Giorgetti, and then is this a roll call vote, or is this just a
Roll call vote, yeah.
Okay, Kathy?
Okay. So Quinn,
Yes.
Calderon.
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Likens is absent, Mycheck is absent, O'Hare,
Yes.
Giorgetti.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, motion passes, and we will revisit this issue at the next meeting on Wednesday, July 8th, same room, same time.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, did I need to do?
Just the fact that it's July 8th, it's been continued.
Will we be formally notified through the mail?
No.
No.
Yeah, there will be, it'll be on the website when the agenda comes out as well.
Correct. When the hearing's over, I'd be happy to talk to you. Yeah. When the hearing's over, ma'am.
Yeah, we have
We have 2 more hearings to do.
we have a time for citizens to be heard after the rest of the hearings. All right, the next, we'll move on to the next public hearing, case number 26-010, rezoning of a property from C2 Community Commercial to R3 Limited Multiple Family Residential for the property located at 136 West 18th Street. We'll go ahead and, do we need to make a motion to open this? This is a public hearing? Yeah. We need to make a motion, any motion to open this public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Quinn, second by O'Hare. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing is open. We'll turn it over to staff.
Yeah, thank you. So a brief background on this. This property is located at 136 West 18th Street. It is a detached 2-unit residential home, and it's currently zoned C2 Community Commercial, despite it being a residential property. Staff has found that, based on historic zoning maps, this property was changed from residential to commercial in 1990, and we are proposing today to revert this property to R3 multifamily residential. Currently, the property is considered non-conforming. The property owner is looking to sell his property, and with it being non-conforming with its zoning district, he is unable to sell his property because the future buyer cannot get approved for a mortgage. If the home were to be destroyed, it can't be rebuilt at 100%. Therefore, it is a limitation for both the seller and the buyer. We have our petitioner, Joe Huffer. He is here tonight, and he's also, this home is part of his father's estate, so he's here on behalf of that. The parcel is plus or minus 0.19 acres. We said it was C2 zoning, and we are requesting to rezone to R3. It's currently zoned that C2 as well as surrounding properties. The property to the south on the other side of 18th Street is planned to be redeveloped into a multifamily housing unit or housing units, and we would like to do the R3 zoning so that this multifamily unit would then match the surrounding potential rezoning for those properties on the south side. So we wouldn't consider this spot zoning, but we would seek to put it into compliance with the future of what will be around it. And then to the north of this particular property is additional residential properties that are zoned C2, and the city will be working later down the road with those property owners to get them to a proper zoning district for the residential uses. So with this, let me make sure I check my notes. I don't have anything extra. Okay, perfect. So our recommended motion here, should the commission find that the rezoning request is acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to recommend approval to the city council for the rezoning from C2 Community Commercial to R3 Low Density Multifamily for the property located at 136 West 18th Street.
All right, thank you. And is the applicant here? And first of all, thank you for your patience. And second of all, is there anything you'd like to add to staff's report?
It's been
If so, if you could just come up to the microphone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, back in 1990, I think the city wanted to expand the retail areas south of the downtown area, but now they've gone east and it's all residential. I don't think they're going to be doing any more retail development on South State Street.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Nope. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant, staff?
No.
All right. Any motion? And Lance, this would, and just to clarify something, you mentioned this would not be spot zoning. This is just to be similar to the property across the street. And has that property already been rezoned, or is that still pending?
That one has not been rezoned, and they have not submitted for a rezoning. It is owned, or was owned, by the same developer that owns the remainder of the former Tassoni properties. The anticipation, based on our discussions with that property owner, is they would rezone all of those properties to R3, which would then give them the ability to build townhomes on those properties. And at that time, that property owner would rezone their property at the same time.
Okay, excellent. All right. If there's not any other questions, if anybody wants to make a motion to close the public hearing.
One quick question.
Sure.
There's no chance that that property, like what if at the time the property owner doesn't come on the other one, the other property south of 18th Street that says, yeah, I'm fine selling it as commercial. Could that ever happen, and then this becomes the lone R3 surrounded by commercial? Like, is that a possibility ever?
Well, I mean, I guess what I would say is currently it's zone C2. So if he wanted to operate a business out of his house, he could do that. He would have the right to do that. However, the challenge, as it has been with this particular property and the other residential property surrounding this, is, as Alyssa mentioned, when somebody goes to sell the house, if they pay cash, it's not a big deal. However, they buy something that they can't replace at 100% of its current size. If they need to get a mortgage, the mortgage company will do their due diligence and typically will not approve a loan for a property that they, in essence, diminish by 25% if there is ever a fire or something that damages the house. And so it is really, there's no real information back from 1990 about why this area was rezoned. I think the applicant probably is suggesting relatively closely as to why they were doing it at the time. We don't know if, public notice was given or if the applicants were told about this, but it certainly goes from the 1989 map where it was zoned residential to the 1990 map where all these properties were zoned C2.
Yeah.
If they were going to redevelop as C2, it would be impossible to meet the bulk standards that relate to C2. That goes back to our conversation about C2T, which is more reflective of the smaller lots in the downtown environment that we have currently down there. And so regardless of what way this goes, it's likely that this would need to be rezoned to something else unless they were simply going to use it as the existing structure with no additions, no changes. They could operate a business out of it, but it is in the applicant's best interest to have it rezoned.
Right, and then if there's a potential buyer, they would just be aware that, hey, it's surrounded by C2 zoning. If someone wants to build on the parcel across the street and put up a, whatever, coffee shop or an auto zone or, whatever, they theoretically have the right to do that. But that's their decision at that point. They don't have to purchase the property. This just allows the applicant the ability to market it and get more buyers because they can get a mortgage and they can't get insurance and all that.
Correct.
Okay, excellent.
Mr. Chairman, just to kind of add on to that, Lance and I have talked about this where we've tried to even give lenders letters saying, hey, we know that the development to the south is coming. We've been working with them. That's part of what I was just talking about with one of the parcels I'm selling for the city to allow development. We also know there's other legal non-conforming properties to the north that at some point in time, we would like to reach out to them to offer them this same rezoning, and that's why it's not spot zoning, because it's going to be this whole area eventually. But right now, we have a problem where even with Lance's letter to the lender, they're like, no, we're not going to accept it. It's not zoning compatible, even though we said we will not take zoning action against you because we're going through this process. So we're trying to help this particular individual property while we're going through the bigger process around it.
Excellent, thank you. All right, any motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Quinn, second by Calderon. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to recommend approval to the city council for the rezoning from C2 community commercial to R3 low-density multiple family of the property located at 136 West 18th Street.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Quinn, a second by O'Hare. Kathy, could we have a roll call vote, please?
You got it. Quinn?
Yes.
Calderon?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Lyons is absent. Mychuck is absent. O'Hare?
Yes.
And Georgetti?
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, and this will go to Committee of the Whole on July 1st. All right, thank you again to the applicants. All right, we will move on to the third case, case number 26-011, special use permit for auto body repair shop and indoor contractor shop for the property located at 15062 South Archer Avenue. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Quinn, a second by Giorgetti. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're open. Staff.
Yep, thank you. So our applicant, Sophia Dugopolsky, is the owner of the property located at 15062 South Archer Avenue. She is seeking approval for a special use permit to allow an indoor contractor shop and an auto body repair shop to operate on the site. A little background on this site: it is plus or minus 4 acres. It's currently zoned C2 community commercial and used for commercial purposes. The request is for a special use permit for an auto body repair shop and an indoor contractor shop. This property, while it's zoned C2 community commercial, it does have a special use permit for auto repair. And there are also conditions that come with that auto repair. And I will get to that in a later section. So again, we have our current zoning. It is surrounded by additional C2 commercial properties to the northeast and the southeast, and then surrounding that, we have agricultural land that is within Will County. So a little bit on this property before I get into the special uses. It is a multi-tenant commercial building, and it has challenged previous property owners, tenants, and city staff for years with the various uses that have come to it. The building itself is non-conforming. It's a steel structure, which is not something we would allow to be built today, but it is definitely constructed to house more industrial type activities. Those activities would be placed under special uses in the C2 district. So because of this, there's been a lot of discrepancy between what uses can be there, what's allowed, just permitted by right, what needs a special use permit, especially when the building itself is set up for something a little bit heavier industrial-wise. And the property, so it has a special use permit for auto repair with conditions. The building cannot be occupied until the property owner meets the conditions. Most of these conditions were related to site improvements and reconstructing the parking lot. The property owner has submitted a permit for reconstruction of the property, of the parking lot, and it's currently in review with the building department, so we are moving forward with getting that permit processed. So she is taking the next steps to come into compliance there. And in 2026, we had new business owners renting the space, and one of the businesses was a small dent repair for automobiles. And again, this would require a special use permit. This is what we would consider auto body repair. And then there was a contractor shop with outdoor storage. This also would require a special use permit, and we don't allow the outdoor storage. So we're bringing the special use permit application to you today so that those tenants would be able to operate at this current site. So our standards for special uses, I will go through those. The first, the proposed building or use at the particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or a facility in the public interest and will contribute to the general welfare of the neighborhood or community. Staff finds that this proposed use will fill a vacant commercial space within the city that has been difficult to fill with retail or other commercial type tenants. And again, this is due to the nature of it being built as a more industrial building. The next standard, the proposed building or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, utility facilities, and other matters affecting the public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff finds that this building was originally constructed for users such as auto body, auto repair, or contractor shop. When the site was converted to C2 from a previous zoning category of B1C, the building type and intent of the C2 became a mismatch, and this is limited interest from tenants who would most likely be a C2 user. And then, as long as the improvements are completed before any tenant moves in, improvements being the site improvements that we discussed, this will substantially improve the site and the area to allow for uses to fit into the context of the area. And our third standard, the proposed building or use will be designed, arranged, and operated so as to permit the development and use of neighboring property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. The property owner is required to make significant site improvements to bring the property up to code and to adhere to previously established site conditions tied to the special use permit approval. And as a reminder, she has submitted her applications for the parking lot reconstruction and a landscape plan along with that. And those are currently being reviewed. So our recommended motion, should the commission find that the special use permit for an auto repair shop acceptable, the following motion is suggested: a motion to adopt the findings of fact as presented to recommend approval of the special use permit for an auto body shop and an indoor contractor shop within the C2 Community Commercial District with the following conditions. I can read those conditions for you if you would like. Otherwise, I will leave them on the screen and you have them in your packets.
I think we're okay. Thank
Okay. I won't bore you too much.
Is the applicant, Ms. Lugopolsky, here? Is there anything you would like to add that staff did not mention? I think Alyssa laid it out perfectly. Okay. Excellent, thank you. Are there any citizens, actually, is there any commissioners' questions for staff or the applicant at this time? All right. Are there any citizens to be heard on this matter? No. Okay. Yeah, so if there's no questions, is there any motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion by Calderon, second by Quinn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so any discussion amongst the commissioners? I'd just like to say, thank you to Alyssa for letting us know that the applications have already been processed that answer a lot of the questions that I had about making sure that the parking lots are maintained and everything's up to city code. Obviously, this is a fairly lengthy list of conditions should it be approved that are fairly straightforward. That I think if the city council were to see that this is that these must all be followed in order for the permit to be granted. So thank you to staff.
I'm just pleased that there's a use case for this parcel.
Yep. All right. Any motions, any changes, anything along those lines? Feel free to to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, to adopt the findings of fact as presented, to recommend the approval of the special use permit for auto body shop and indoor contractor shop with the C2 Community Commercial District with the conditions as listed. I don't need to read them all, do I? Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by O'Hare, second by Quinn. Kathy, can we please have a roll call vote?
You got it. Quinn?
Yes.
Calderon?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Likens is absent, Mycheck is absent, O'Hare?
Yes.
And Giorgetti?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and this will go to Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, or on July 1st, 2026. Yep, thank you. And thank you for your patience. New business, Lance?
The only thing well, I can say it under my staff report.
Okay. Old business? Anyone? No? Citizens to be heard, Ms. Mathis, would you?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was told that when they talked about,
Need to come up to the mic, heard on TV.
when they talked about the tower thing, that they could not bring up any health issues related to the tower being there. And from what I understand, there are a number of health issues that are related to causing a lot of health issues. And to me, that's a major thing because there's so many people around there. It's not an isolated area. And the thing that breaks my heart is the kids are there, and that's where the kids play. And if there's some health issues that are related to that, I would hate to see them in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I've taught school for so many years, and they're my kids. They're always my kids. So I just wanted to.
No, we very much appreciate the sentiment, and this is, unfortunately, we have very limited control over anything federally mandated. I would definitely,
federal.
I would absolutely though, if you do have concerns, we do have process to your local representatives, and make them aware of your concerns, whether it's for this specific tower or towers in general. I do think that there are avenues for citizens to get the ball rolling on that sort of thing with your local Congress people and senators and things like that. And I know that they've made their websites fairly easy where you can kind of click and say, hey, what's my issue? And it will send that to them. So I would, recommend, you follow any of your options as a citizen and say, hey, this Federal Communications Act of 1996, I don't agree with X, Y, and Z. Could you please review that? And, hopefully someone gets back to you because, we're very open and accessible, and I think that a lot of those people are too.
That's one of the great things about you, is that you are open and accessible. And thanks for putting up with me. I appreciate it.
And thank you for your patience and following our protocol and order here. Thank you.
Good night.
Any other citizens to be heard?
She's with us.
Doesn't appear so. Chairman's report. Well, this might be the only time I ever get to do this, so maybe I'll have something. But no, just Chairman Likens, if you view the recording, thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we followed all the processes. And thanks to everyone on the commission, staff, citizens, for everyone participating. I do think that's what makes these meetings valuable, is when we do have people that come and voice their opinion and make sure that we have all the facts when we're trying to make our decisions. So that's all I have. Any other commissioners? Nope. Staff report.
Just two things. Our next steering committee meeting for the Greater Downtown Master Plan is June 18th. I know that Commissioner Peters is on that steering committee and represents the Plan and Zoning Commission on that committee. We have another number of other community members that serve on that committee as well, so we are continuing to advance that. The other item I'll let everybody know about is we were just notified today that we were selected for a Route 7 corridor study as well via the RTA. And so we have received a grant to be able to fund the work on that effort, and that will commence in 2027.
Sorry, what does that entail? Generally, do we know
that
yet?
is reviewing land use, transportation functions, multimodal access, and other considerations related to the corridor itself. The geographic areas from Lincoln Street all the way out to Gauger Road. So very sizable geography there, but it really serves to look at existing uses that have been there for many years, and small properties versus all big properties, undeveloped, partially developed, and fully developed. So this is something that we feel is an important component of our planning exercises. Our last Route 7 corridor study was done in 2001, I believe. So a couple things have changed over the last 25 years, and so it's a good time to update that. And we were very pleased to be able to find out that we received a significant amount of funding to be able to facilitate that plan.
Excellent, and that's anything from roads, sidewalks, land use, bus stops, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the addition of the third lane along 7th Street, that does kind of resolve some of the traffic issues that might have otherwise come up. But we also will look at the Farrell and 159th Street intersection, the Gauger and 159th Street intersection, and elements related to the interchange itself.
Excellent. Very good. All right, anything else? No? All right, we are adjourned.
Motion.
Oh, no, I forgot that part. That wasn't in my notes.
To adjourn.
Technically, he can do that, but okay.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Giorgetti, a second by Quinn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, now we are adjourned.
Hey!